this word Wamakaskan. Wamakaskan is anything in its natural state. In other words, Wamakaskan is all of creation in its natural state. And in the Lakota way, we have this symbol called a medicine wheel. And it's a circle with 4 equal parts. And you draw it in such a way so that it shows that everything is connected to each other. And that what happens to one part affects the other parts. And we use it to symbolize a lot of things. And since reality begins within, according to Lakota Star knowledge, we apply it to first ourself. And we look at ourself as having 4 parts. And those are the physical body, the mind, the emotions, and the soul. And these 4 are connected to each other, and the medicine wheel shows that. So when we do our best to take care of these 4 parts, we are putting ourselves in the center of the medicine wheel. And this is a very sacred area. In this area, there is no language, there is no culture, there is no skin color. This is where our reality is beginning. This is also a place where our Grandmother Earth has put a piece of herself. This is what makes it sacred. So when we live this way, we are honoring our Grandmother Earth. We are doing our best to maintain that and to nurture that connection. And natural law projects this outside of us. So that means when we live this way, we are able to be at one, first of all, within ourselves, and then with everything around us. It doesn't mean that we're supposed to agree on everything. No, that's not what it means. It means that we can get along. And sometimes we're going to disagree. And that's okay, as long as we don't push each other to accepting our own ideas. We're okay. We can agree to disagree and still have peace. Because we're all in journeys in our lives. And as we grow, we will change. So this is showing that. So now the medicine wheel can be used to represent everything out there. And we use that to represent Wamakaskan. Wamakaskan being nature, everything in its natural state. So we begin by saying, okay, it represents that which moves and grows. Dakushkan, or Dakushkan, some people call that. And another part represents the 4-leggeds, the Hu Topa. And then another part represents the 2-leggeds, Hu Numpa. And then we have the 4th part representing the winged, which is Hupahu. These are the 4 branches of all creation. So when you use the medicine wheel to represent this, see what happens to one of these groups is going to affect the others too. So if one group is oppressing another group, it's going to affect everybody involved. It's going to affect all Wamakaskan. So this is why in ancient times, when we take an animal for food, for clothing, we make a vow and an apology to that animal nation that we will give something back of ourselves. Maybe it's a flesh offering. Maybe it's doing something for another animal nation. For example, about every 10 years in North America, the central area, which is what they call the Great Plains, Indian tribes that lived there, even enemy tribes, they all had an understanding that they burned the entire Great Plains about once every 10 years. The reason why they do this is because what's left behind is nitrogen, and that nurtures the ground so that this wild wheat continues to grow, so the buffalo has something to eat and all other animals have something to eat. You see what I mean? We're doing something so that all will be able to eat, all will be able to live. And if we take something, we have to do something to balance it out somehow. So when hunters hunt, they say a little prayer before they do that. And they are saying, if they get something, they will give something back. And this will belong to the people, not just to the hunter. But anybody who's hungry will be fed from that. Anybody who needs clothing will get the hide to process. And there's other parts of the animal that can be used for other things too. That they will use as much of the animal as they can to help the people. So they hunted, and after they hunted, they do something for the animal nations. They have like a little funeral before they process the meat, and then everybody's fed. This is how that works. So we don't just go out there and hunt for the hell of it, cut the head off and put it on the board and hang it up on the wall. That's disrespectful. That's showing that man is above nature. And that is absolutely not true. That's violating natural law. Now sometimes items of a certain animal might be used in ceremony, but still you don't hang it up for decoration. So there's a lot more respect shown to all creation. Even the medicine people who dig roots and herbs and use them for medicines, they do a similar process that hunters do when they go hunting for animals. And the medicines are used to help people and to heal people and stuff like that. But there's always a reciprocation happening. When you take something, you give something in return. That's how the natural law of generosity works. When you take something, you have to give something. It's like when you breathe. When you exhale, after that you have to inhale. They go together. You can't not just have one. In other words, you can't just inhale. Try it. You're going to die. You have to do both. So, in the ancient time, people had a hell of a lot more respect for animals than they do today. Like I said, this medicine wheel can be used to represent a lot of things. And the medicine wheel shows that there's nothing in that medicine wheel that's more important than the other. Every part is important. Every part is crucial. And every part works with each other. Just like our bodies. Yeah? Things in there work together when we're healthy and we're living healthy. If something is bothering you, you talk to somebody about it and come to peace with it. Come to terms with it. Because if you don't, it could make you physically sick. It could make you emotionally sick. And that might cause you to send an unhealthy communication to somebody. Even though you didn't intend it to be that way, it's going to come out that way. So you have to be at peace. And that includes learning from when difficult times come. Living a healthy way doesn't mean everything is going to be good. No. It just means that when difficulty comes, you'll know to learn from it, make the best of it. And from when you do that, you receive wisdom, knowledge, and peace. And so when nice experiences come, you really savor every second and just enjoy it. And you see more of reality than you ever could before. The more you live like this, the more you experience, the more you encounter, the more you see, the more you enjoy, the more you learn, and you're making a contribution to all Wamakaskan. That is the Lakota star knowledge way when you're looking at animals. We are not above them. We are not above anything. We are a part of nature. That's what the medicine wheel shows. Yeah, we are a part of nature. We're not above it. When we do something to oppress one of the other groups, that's going to come back on us. It's going to hurt the other groups, but we're going to end up hurting ourselves even more. And then we're violating the earth. We're trying to attack the earth when we do this. Lakota Star Knowledge teaches that reality begins within. And you can come up with a lot of statements based on that. One of them is how you communicate reflects what's going on inside of you. Yeah? How you communicate shows what kind of person you are. And generosity. Just whatever it is you send out, it's going to come back 4 times as strong. So I really don't like rodeos, for one thing. I really don't like bullfighting. I don't like zoos. I don't like anything where people are oppressing animals. And I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't like these kind of activities. And I don't like it when people have such disrespect for the animal nations. In the Lakota way, you are a part of nature. You're not above the animals. You're with the animals. Yeah? So when you take one for food, give something back of yourself because you're taking a life. Give thanks. Do something nice for the animal nations. Because they're people too. Yeah? They are nations. So we don't just hunt it and then mount its head on the wall. That shows incredible disrespect. Because you're showing off to others, look at how good I am. It's a selfish display of macho. And there's absolutely no humility in this kind of communication. This is why this violates natural law. In Lakota ancient times, when you go out to hunt, or even to pick berries or timsila, you still say prayers to those nations, even plant nations. They have their own way of communicating. And you say you're going to use what you take for a good purpose so that the people may live, and you're going to give something back of yourself. So you reciprocate. When you take, you give as well later. And you apologize. And you use it to feed everybody, not just yourself, but to feed anybody who's hungry. This is something you learn as a little child, boys and girls. So when these young people become warriors, they have a lot of respect for the animal nations. They know to give back when they take. They're very respectful to animals. So if you choose to do something incredibly disrespectful, it shows you. Remember, Lakota Star Knowledge teaches that how you communicate says a lot about what kind of person you are. So how you treat others is the way you treat yourself. If you do not respect others, you do not respect yourself. If you cannot love others, you don't love yourself. It goes both ways. Before you can love others, you have to love yourself. Before you can respect others, you have to respect yourself. Before you can understand the universe out there, you have to understand the universe inside of you. And to say that, oh, it's just the animal, are we above everything? Are we the super people and animals are just beasts of burden? No, we're not. We are a part of nature. We are not above it. And the sooner we learn that, the sooner we live like that, the better off we will be. So again, you have to accept the consequences of your choices. We have something called volition. We have the power to change our lives. And so to choose to do something where you intentionally endanger your life, well, based on Lakota Star Knowledge, this is really unhealthy. And it's going to have really, really unhealthy consequences. So you have to be aware of that. So that message is going out to all people who are really into rodeos and going to circuses and going to zoos where animals are tortured for entertainment. This totally violates laws of the universe. It totally violates nature. It violates everything. It totally dishonors the earth. It totally dishonors all of creation. When Lakota people hunted buffalo, they had a hell of a lot of respect for them. They knew they could get trampled by them. So they do it in a very, very strategic way, and they only take what they needed. And they use it for everybody. That really shows something healthy. And then they gave back to the Buffalo people so that there was balance. According to Lakota Star Knowledge concepts, rodeos violate the earth. The zoos violate the earth. And things like that. Because the animals are being oppressed. The animals are being tortured to doing things. Circuses is also part of this, where animals are really tortured. Do you remember on CNN in India, a lot of really shady circuses, they get their elephants illegally. And they get them when they're really babies, and then they keep them in chains. These chains, they have rings that go around their feet, yeah? And inside the ring is spikes that poke the skin. So if they try to run, those spikes will go into their skin. And this group of people that are out there rescuing animals, they found this full-grown adult elephant and it was laying on the road. And it had one of these things around it. See, the circus thought this elephant was too old, so what'd they do? They just threw it by the wayside and said, hell with it, let it die on its own. They went and captured another one. They didn't even bother to take that thing off its leg. They just threw it out like that. So when this rescue organization found this animal, they went up there and they took off this ring from its leg. And the elephant cried. It actually cried. Finally, he's free. Ever since he was a baby, he was imprisoned. And finally, he's not going to live that long, but he's free. This elephant was so weak, they had a hell of a time loading it up, and they took it to a sanctuary, and it really is jumpy at humans. So it's learning how to interact. And so other elephants come by and they socialize with it, and these are intelligent creatures. These are not beasts to torture, to make fun of, to use, to enslave, to taunt. These are living creatures. What made us made them too. We're not any better than them. To treat animals like this. You know, it's not just the people who are digging for gold and oil and coal and polluting the water that are causing all the problems on this earth, or the wars that are based on religious differences. It's not just that. It's people like this that were taunting that elephant that shows such disdain against animals. They're part of it too. So if you're a rodeo fan, you're part of the reason why the world is so messed up today. That's not a sport. What does that teach? It doesn't teach anything. This is not a sport. That is torture. When they release a calf running, and there's two cowboys running alongside the calf, one guy lowers himself and jumps on the calf and twists its neck until it falls to the ground. That's a sport? I don't think so. That is torture. This is not part of being human. So I'm not a fan of rodeos, I'm not a fan of circuses, I'm not a fan of zoos. And now you know why. We are not above anybody. And when we think we are, the world is not right. We are causing a major problem as long as we think we are above all other creation. Because that is oppression, that is duality. Thinking you're better, you're more important than all others. And anybody else who's not like you is considered less than. It's the same concept when people believe in something like it's better to give than to receive. What does that mean for the one who's receiving? That means they're no good. In Lakota Star knowledge, you learn, you do both. You give and you receive. When you take something, you give something back. You always reciprocate. Your lungs teach you this. Every breath that you take, it reminds you with every breath that you take, our body reminds us of this natural law of generosity that we call Wawokie. I'm not asking for you to agree with me. I just ask that you think about what I said. Because what I said is based on really old traditional concepts. And here's another belief a lot of people don't realize. See, today on Indian reservations, Indian cowboys, when they are training a horse, they call it breaking the horse. They don't realize that what that really means is that they're breaking its soul. They're enslaving it. They're saying, look, we're letting you know who's the boss here. You do what we say. That's basically what they're doing. So when you see somebody riding a horse where the horse has been broken in, as they say, that horse is really not free. That horse is scared. In ancient times, well, not too ancient, not too ancient because horses came to us from the Spaniards. They were not always here. They came to us when the Spanish people came in Mexico and some of their horses got away. And in some instances, the Indians down there attacked the Spaniards because the Spaniards were trying to overrun them, and they chased the Spaniards out. And then they got their horses, and some of those horses came up towards our area, and they came from the west. This is why they're associated with thunder. Well, that comes from the west too. And when they came, the belief was that the horse allows a person to ride it. The horse allows the person. In other words, the horse chooses who's going to be its rider. The horses are very empathic, where they can pick up on how people are feeling. And so, like attracts like. A horse will choose somebody that is very like its own personality. For those of you that know horses, they have personalities too. They have different personalities. And they choose a rider based on how it is. So they didn't break a horse back then. They went by this concept by letting the horse choose the rider. That's more respectful, in my opinion. Because that's showing that a respect to the horse, that it is a creature, that we are not above the horse, that it is also a part of nature, and that we can get along. So we didn't break horses years ago. So that shows you the differences. So today on a reservation, Indian cowboys, they break their horses. They don't do it the traditional way. They do it the dualistic, oppressive way. And what's this guy called again? The horse whisperer? That is really cool, what that guy does. He gets on their level. I like the way he does things. It's very similar to the way a lot of ancient tribal people used to do things.
Ahena shina wache Yahweh Elohai Ahena Jina Wachi Yahu Elohei. Ahena Jina Wachi Yahu Elohei. Wamakaskan oyate wachi Yahu Elohei. Ahina Jina 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 wachi Yahu Elohei. Wamakaskan oyate wachi Yahu Elohei. Ahina Jina 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 wachi Yahu Elohei. Wamakaskan oyate wachi Yahu Elohei. Ahina Jina 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 wachi Yahu Elohei. Wamakaskan oyate wachi Yahu Elohei. Ahina Jina wachi Yahu Elohei. Ahina Jina wachi Yahu Elohei.
To learn more about Lakota spirituality, I have written a book called Wichocha Otechige. This book also includes Lakota star knowledge information. All the videos that I make, which are about Lakota spirituality, Lakota star knowledge, and cultural information, are based on this book. This book costs 99 American dollars. This price includes the shipping cost. And to learn more about Lakota language, I have written a Lakota language book called Chante Etanha Owoglake, Speaking from the Heart. And all my Lakota language videos are based on this book. This book costs 119 American dollars. This price includes the shipping cost. And new for 2024, I have a new book titled Chekia, which means pray. This book includes a CD which has traditional Lakota prayers and traditional spiritual songs. This book cost 49 American dollars, and this price includes the shipping cost. I also teach online, and I give spiritual consultations as well. If you are interested in any of my services and products, you can send payment via PayPal to my email address, which is info@wolakota7.com. You can see the email address on the screen, and it's also in the video description below. When you send your payment, please include your shipping address and your email address. I do have a Patreon account, and you can see the link to that in the description below the video. Here you can also make donations to my channel, and you can also buy my products, my books, and my services concerning private Lakota language lessons and spiritual consultation or spiritual instruction. Again, you can see the Patreon link in the video description below. Ho, lila pilamayelo. Thank you very much. In the Lakota way, everything is circular. As a result, we do not have a word for goodbye in the Lakota language, and so instead we say until next time, which in Lakota is Doksha Ake. And I will catch you in the next video.